The Emerald Tablets of Thoth. A friend of mine asked me what are my thoughts on it. I've gone down this rabbit hole. I've got the Emerald Tablets of Hermes and the Kybalion, the Hermetica, the Kybalion. What do we have here? The Kybalion by the three initiates. Yes. You know what's important when you're a seeker is to go down all the rabbit holes. You're looking for answers. You're going to go find stuff and you're going to dig and you're going to find shortcomings in it and you're going to leave it behind. That's what's going to happen here. Now, if you are somebody that's like all into the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and you believe that it's true, this is not going to be a fun video for you. All right. I'm going to talk about this in my own way, my own understanding. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. I find that there's one common teaching that is found in antiquity that you must be able to read conceptually in order to see it. Conceptually means this. If you see something in a story that says, you will have increasing pains in childbirth, or if you have had an evil thought, pain follows, like the wheel that follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage, or a ship anchored on the reef can only crash against the reef, or the tree growing that produces no fruit and gets chopped down, grows up and produces no fruit again. Can you look at those stories and see one common thing in there? That's what makes it tricky. People go, I don't get it. There's something in there, but you must know what it is to begin with. It's holding patterns that are on the cycle of a human life. And what those each represent is cycles of pain. Childbirth. Every time something emerges from you again that's bad, it's going to be painful. Pain follows, like the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. Cyclical pain. That ship that's anchored by the reef and it can only crash into the reef again and again. Cyclical pain. But we have to understand that they're creating a component part and then making an analogous story that's holding that. All right, I put myself into it in order to interpret it. My inner being is what is giving birth to something and it's painful. It happens in real life, but in the psyche and the soul, or on a spiritual search, what you're looking for is how does this apply to my life? This means that every time I'm giving birth to something that I'm holding on to, I'm getting triggered. I'm screaming, I'm yelling, I'm having problems, I'm having conflict. Maybe I have feelings of self-worth. Somehow something that is derogatory towards my happiness is something that continually happens. And as long as I'm hanging on to something, if I've had an evil thought, that's not an evil thought. That means I'm holding on to something that is evil to me. Pain follows like the wheel follows. The tree that grows up, it doesn't produce anything good. You've got something growing from your garden that isn't healthy. Even if you try to get rid of it, it comes back again and again. That whole ship in the anchor, I'm the ship. As long as I'm hanging on, as long as I'm anchored here, I'm crashing into the reef. They're all ways of just holding that same concept. That's what I mean by conceptual reading. What is the concept in the word? It's all metaphor, every bit of it. Every bit of it. What's the concept in the next part? What we're looking at in the stories is that there's ways of holding those in there, and that's what we're actually looking for. As we get into this material here, what I'm looking for is to see if I can determine that that is in there. I know I'm looking for that now. I know that the story itself is a carrier, like a religion, that the masses are going to be all over because it sounds fun, but meanwhile, if it's got the one single template in it, it'll be viable. If not, it's just somebody's made up stuff. So let's take a look at that. Okay, first, I'm going to return to a document that I'm creating here. It's called Tablets and Scrolls. These are comparisons that I'm making from material from antiquity. We've got the Enuma Elish here, the Babylonian creation story, and they've got the Tablet of Fate. In Exodus, we've got the Book of the Covenant, the Tables of Stone. In Joshua, we have the Book of the Law. Jeremiah, words in your mouth. Ezekiel, eat this scroll. Revelations, Lamb's Book of Life. So what do we have here? The Tablet of Fate, from Babylonian. The Book of the Covenant, Jewish, Moses. Tablet of Stone, Jewish, Moses. Book of the Law, Jewish, Joshua. Words in your mouth, Jewish, Jeremiah. Eat this scroll, Jewish, Ezekiel. Book of Life of the Lamb, Christian, Revelations. Agreements, the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, occultic material. That's what I mean by conceptual reading. Do you see that they all have some kind of a start in the beginning? There's something here that's like, this isn't official, this is set in stone. Here is something that you need to know. That's a conceptual part of what I'm talking about. Do you see that right off the bat? All right. And for people that don't know about this stuff, I'm not recent on it. I'm not current on it. What I remember, and I'm just going to be vague here. There's a point here where it's kind of well known in a kind of occultic circles. The idea was, as best I recall, is that there were these emerald tablets, and that they had the writing on there, that they were carved on emerald, and that they disappeared from the original place, taken from Atlantis. Atlantis sank. I don't recall all what's going on. People will correct me on this. It doesn't matter. This part doesn't matter. What matters is that there's a claim that there was originally emerald tablets that were then relocated by Thoth from Egypt, wherever they were, or the sinking of Atlantis, or depends. Yeah, I don't know. It's a made up history. Okay. So then they went to South America, where they were put in a kind of an underground place under a pyramid. If you were to watch the DVD, The Secret, in the front while it's coming on, and they show somebody like he's got paper and he's trying to like copy or make imprints over something that's there. That's it right there. They're trying to claim that's the spot where somebody got access to those and was making imprints of those, and then came back and had access to what those actually said now. What I want to do is read this, and what I want to do is just talk about my own thoughts and feelings about it as I go along. Most people, if you're a seeker, you're going to, depending on where you are along the path, you're going to kind of be with me on this. Okay, and as I read, I'm going to just start right off the bat. I'm going to read the first sentence, and I'm going to tell you right away, I feel like it's time to get a foil hat. The history of the tablets translated in the following pages is strange and beyond the belief of modern scientists. Their antiquity is stupendous, dating back some 36,000 years BC. Okay, that becomes at some point very evident as something that you recognize from pseudoscience places, or people that are like the alternative history, the ancient alien, the, lost civilization, that the earth was obviously populated by more advanced people at one time, all that kind of stuff. They do this very thing right here. The history of the tablets translated in the following pages is strange and beyond belief of modern scientists. I'm going to tell you straight up, modern scientists don't give a shit. That's baloney. What that is, something to make people that don't listen, that don't know, that don't grasp, that want to understand, that don't think, go, oh, yeah, those modern scientists, they're keeping things from us. They're such liars. I'm going to jump in on this. Meanwhile, it's like, we pulled that out of where? Yeah, that's baloney. Modern scientists are busy. They're not trying to figure out what happened to the emerald tablets of Thoth. Their antiquity is stupendous, dating back some 36,000 years BC. That's just a claim. Let's read on, though. I'll be quiet. The writer is Thoth, an Atlantean priest king who founded a colony in ancient Egypt after the sinking of the mother country. He was the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza, erroneously attributed to Cheops. See The Great Pyramid by Dorial. In it, he incorporated his knowledge of the ancient wisdom and also securely secreted records and instruments of ancient Atlantis. Okay, so what they're doing here is trying to qualify the work, but they're doing so in such a way that would make you go, really? Unless you're somebody that goes, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I've never heard of that before. That's got to be true. Yeah, those scientists. There's a lot of those kind of people around. Alrighty. Okay, I want to caveat what I'm doing here with the idea that doesn't mean that there isn't something viable in here. The teaching may very well be okay. However, it's packaged in such a way that is different. Okay, I can go find the same template from Jesus, and a Christian they won't know it's there. I can find the same template in Genesis. The Jew doesn't know it's there. Okay, so there is something in here, I'm saying, but that the qualifications are shaky. I don't want to get into it, and I don't want to talk about the entire viability of the material. What I want to do is get past the qualifications and get into the tablet itself. Let's get into what the tablet itself says. Remembering, I'm claiming that the tablets never did exist, that this is a common body of teaching, that it's going to be simply shifted into different analogous verbiage. However, somebody coming up with it is claiming that he's getting it from a source that is much, much, much more ancient than they themselves. So they're not taking credit for it themselves. They're trying to pass it off, but you got a lot of explaining to do. All right, if I went to read it, though, I would see something different. This is Emerald Tablet 1, the history of Thoth the Atlantean. So I've gotten past the preface and introduction and everything. This is what supposedly starts the template, or starts the writing on the Emerald Tablet itself. I, Thoth, the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generation, being about to pass into the halls of Amenti, set down for the guidance of those who are to come after, these records of the mighty wisdom of great Atlantis. Okay, that's fine. That's a perfect thing. You cannot find a book in the Bible that doesn't start with the story of so-and-so, son of so-and-so in the rule of... There's always a qualification. Not in the times where this came about. They're using a certain ancient pattern. But in older times, the stories are coming around mostly word of mouth. You're not reading, you're not writing, you're hearing it. Somebody's just saying something, you want to know where it comes from. This story comes from David, the son of, whatever. It goes on like that. So this part right here is normal. They're saying this is the source of the material. They're trying to qualify the material. In the great city of Kior in the land of Undal, in a time far past, I began this incarnation, not as the little men of the present age did the mighty ones of Atlantis live and die, but rather from eon to eon did they renew their life in the halls of Amenti, where the river of life flows eternally onward. I will tell you that the halls of Amenti are going to align with Babylonian, and Aruna, the meeting place of the gods, the hall of Amenti, the meeting place of the gods, the mind. The halls of Amenti are right here. That's where you live. That's where your thoughts reside. That's where your awareness is. That's where your experience is, up here. Where the river of life flows eternally onward. Yeah, there you go. That's like the river out of Eden as well. This is following a pattern that I recognize. 100 times 10 have I descended the dark way, led into the light, and as many times have I ascended. This is too early on for healing. From the darkness into the light, my strength and power renewed. More people? I don't know. Population? Okay, now for a time I descend, and the men of Chem shall know me no more. Okay, right there, you're following my work. What happens right after Cain? God disappears until it's time for the flood. What happens when he puts Abram and Sarai in chapter 12 into Canaan, where there's a famine, and then disappears until after Sarai has been married to Pharaoh, and Abram gets sex and slaves and his wife back for her. Eventually God comes back. What happens right here? Now for a time I descend, and the men of Chem shall know me no more. But in a time yet unborn will I rise again, mighty and potent, requiring an accounting of those left behind me. God, that sounds like... What does that sound like? Vaguely like... Something's connecting. What have I got? Enoch. The first book of Enoch. The words of the blessing of Enoch, with which he blessed the elect and the righteous, who will be living in the day of tribulation, when all the wicked and godless people are to be removed from the earth. But in a time yet unborn will I rise again in mighty potent, requiring an accounting of those left behind. When all the wicked and godless people are to be removed from the earth. And he began his story saying, I am Enoch, a righteous man, whose eyes were open in God, who saw for this generation to know for a remote one which is to come. For now, for a time I descend, and the men of Chem shall know me no more, but in a time yet unborn, in a time yet to come. Yeah. Okay. I think he copied Enoch, actually. And reworded it. Yeah, you know what? It's good material. The source is not right. The source is a religion. There's always a way to carry the template in a package that is this big grand thing, okay? The teachings of Jesus, the entire core of Jesus' teaching is carried in something called Christianity. The entire core of Jewish teachings, the template is held in something called Judaism. I remain pretty conservative with what I point out, but this is the same thing as Jesus disappearing. when Jesus starts out and he astounds everybody in the temple. First he's saved as a child, but then from the time he astounds them in the temple at the age of 12, he disappears until approximately 30, according to the book of Luke, when it's time for his baptismal crossing of a threshold, and then spending 40 in the wilderness, a pure place. There's a pattern being followed right there. The entire template is held in Greek mythologies. It's held in many different ways. This is simply another way of holding it. And people that don't understand what it is, it's an inward path. It looks like he's copying it. I'm not going to go through it all. I don't know that it's accurate. I wouldn't bother with it for myself. There's easier things to understand. This is in more recent times. Somebody's trying to reinvent a way to, there's people out there that are like, boy, I don't like the standard religion. There's something else going on. So they're still maintaining the material. They're giving it a different source. It's something for humans. Boy, how did we evolve? We didn't have a lot of this stuff going on. We were very busy doing simple things. Now we are not as busy and life is very complicated. We stay busy doing a lot of things and chasing this stuff down as if it's real and as if Thoth is really coming back. Or, if you listen to some of the teachings, that if you go to the channels where the guys are teaching this is true, yeah. But there's people all over it at the same time. The guys that are I can't remember their names, Jimmy White, something. And then there's another guy, Ben, somebody. They do this pyramid stuff. This where the ancients could not have made these. That they were loincloth wearing primitives, and obviously the pyramids were made beforehand. And you look at the things they come up with, and you go, boy, that doesn't make sense. Like all the little scoop marks and things like that they say must have been a machine, some kind of a grinding thing. I see somebody with a chisel and a hammer. I don't care whether they had them or not. They must have had some kind of tools there that they could use. They're right in one spot where if you were sitting there chipping, you would be on your knees chipping in one spot. You wouldn't be reaching all over the place doing that. You would be chipping right there. Then you'd shift a little bit and chip. It would make that natural pattern because you're staying in real close as you're doing it. The scoops up above, having some kind of a tool that's doing that. And they say that's just ridiculous. Go out there and do it for a while. Then I think, yeah, that does sound crazy. But then you think, well, what if I was there and I look around and I start putting myself into the culture and I realize, well, there's no technology. What am I doing throughout the day as I grow up? I'm growing up. I got to get a job. I don't own any land. I got to work for somebody that owns land, or I can go work on irrigation projects. Yeah, irrigation is big. Or what I can do, maybe work some textiles, dyeing clay pots, something. What are people doing? How do you live life? What happens when suddenly it's fertile and you've got thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of humans extra doing what? There's no infrastructure. What are they doing? What are these primitive loincloth-wearing people doing for hundreds of years? Look at civilization right now. You can't, even people that are busy, you can't keep it together. What are you going to do with hundreds of thousands of humans sitting around eating all day with nothing to do? Yeah, they can't explain that. There are man hours. You look at that and go, you know what? It's possible for this to be done. No, it can't be done in a day. But what kind of time? What are you going to be doing? Back then, you have every day, and you need to eat, and you need to be kept busy by the hundreds of thousands. You don't have to have one person sitting there day after day after day. You can just have people lined up. Here, you chip for 20 minutes as hard as you can, then go take a break. Next person rotate in. Yeah, there's ways of doing this that, you got to put yourself back there and get out of modern day biases and go, that can't be done. It must have been a machine from even longer ago. That's crazy. That's not thinking. I think humans are very capable, but we are just in such modern biases we don't figure it out. I wanted to say that there. That's not quite the same thing, but if you go down rabbit holes like that, you'll run into the same stuff. That whole Atlantis thing sunk. What happens? Atlantis builds, the infrastructure is there. It's got the outer structure that's where all the business and all that, your outer physical structure. Then there's an inner more protected. And then in the very center, it is the inner sanctum of religion, of purity. But what happens? It becomes corrupt and it gets destroyed by water. It sinks to the bottom of the sea. It's a common flood motif story. It didn't happen historically, but there are people that will chase that forever, looking for that to be a true story, not understanding the metaphoric commonality of that representation is about a self-healing, purging oneself, cleaning out your world, your life. So anyway, though, yeah, thoughts on this? There you go. That's kind of different, isn't it? I've got different things to say about this than other people. It has good material in it, but you have to interpret it. It isn't true. The story of Thoth and the emerald tablets and all that, those are the carrying shell. That's the packaging. That's the wrapping paper. That's the ark itself. What's inside of it is something that is in common. But if you look, you'll see, oh, tablets, yeah, past, healing, I'm going to disappear for a while. Psh, yeah, it sounds like it's following something very common. All right. I hope that helps. I hope it answers your question. And for other people that believe in it, yeah, well, go ahead and go believe in it. I got something different to say about it. I don't. But that's okay. There's a lot of things that you don't believe in that I also don't believe in as well. So we probably share more than we know. Keep that in mind. All right. Hope it was helpful. Take care.